Hi there. In this video tutorial, we're going to overview some of the layout and functionality of the Asset Panda mobile application as it is right now. Now, if you're brand new to this and you have not yet got the app on your phone or your tablet, you can go to any app store. That's the Play Store, for Google or iOS, and it allows you to just search Asset Panda. You'll see our Panda face logo, and you can go ahead and download. Now, the only thing you need to know about Asset Panda is that the permissions it may ask for are completely optional, and that has to do with your location. If your company is going to be tracking GPS, which means I'm going to catalog where the phone or the tablet was at the time a transaction took place, you may want to give it permission and enable that. Otherwise, the application runs just fine without it, and it is a free application. When you are ready to log in for the first time, we've got a couple of options for our different users out there. Option one is to log in normally, and that's just using the username and password that's been given to you by your company administrator. It's the same as the one that you would use for your web access, and you can ask it to memorize that information. And some of our clients prefer to use single sign-on. It's one of the integrations we can offer at Asset Panda, and it means that you'll be using something that you already have set up, like your email information, for example. So I'm just going to sign on normally and give you a quick tour, just kind of a lay of the land inside the way that the main page is organized here inside the mobile app. Let's just collapse everything so we can see it at once. So here we go. We've got our main page. We've got our submenu, which is very much like a favorites area. If I expand these as we go, you can see you've got quick access to some of the more frequently used groups in the system. We've got reporting and notifications. We've got filter options if you'd like to set those so that it only shows specific things when you're looking. And of course, the ability to add a quick image. It's very easy from a phone or tablet device because it usually has a camera attached. The groups, very similar to the groups listing that you would see inside your web. It's all of the groups that you would have access to based on your user permissions. Tools is a little bit different from the tools inside the web. We can do a little bit more with reporting and screen adaptations, but here we've got things like the ability to combine gallery information. I can add unlimited quantities of images, recordings, documentation. We can perform a group scan, which is one of the activities that really is efficient, saves a lot of time. We'll talk about that. An audit functionality that's here, as well as access to your Asset Panda calendar. And then last but certainly not least, we have our account. This is personal settings. You can change password here. Again, quick references to your notifications or the usage capacity for the account. You can even double check that you're running the most current version of your mobile application, which is great for troubleshooting. If we run an update, then you want to make sure the most current update is there so you get the best of all possible features. Now let's talk about just the kind of orientation inside these groups. I am going to be using my assets group just as an example. All the assets that I have here are visible. I can kind of scroll up and down. If I wanted to kind of get a deeper look at something, I could simply tap on that object and it's going to take me to a kind of opening up its file, if you will. So I see access to images I may have associated with this thing. I can take a new image and add it to my gallery at any time by using that icon. I also see all of my fields represented. These have been filled out before I got here, and I can scroll down and continue to see information. If I scroll far enough, just like in our web browser, you'll be able to see those blue tabs, and that represents the history of this object. So here I can see every time an action has been taken and which specific action that was. I can see linked in associations of other groups in the system. And as I continue to perform more activities on this object, I will be able to see more history accumulate. If I need to head back to my main menu, I absolutely can. And it's important to know that there's no need to search just by visually looking or scanning. I can absolutely type in values of information here. I can even apply a filter using this funnel option. Really helpful. So for example, if I only wanted to see things that were, how about available? Maybe I want to check something out. I could choose that field would be my status. I could choose which status I would be interested in. And then again, in this example, we'll just say available, and I can apply that filter. And that's going to go ahead and narrow my view. So now I'm only looking at things that are available. The other really cool way that we can search for objects quickly and find them quickly inside Asset Panda is by utilizing the barcode scanner. And that's one of the really cool things about Asset Panda's mobile app is that if your objects have barcodes or QR codes on it, anytime you see this barcode scanner with the red line, you can click on that. It's going to open up your device's camera, and then you can go ahead and scan the barcode or QR code of your object. It's a really fast search method because it just pops up. This object, I can now tap on it and do whatever I needed to do. Now, let's talk about how we can possibly get new things into Asset Panda. There's a couple of different ways if you're on your mobile device. One is simply by clicking that orange button with the plus on it down at the bottom of the page. When you click on that, it automatically knows you'd like to enter a new object. You can add an image right from the get-go. You can also go ahead and fill out, populate any information that's pertinent, and this is all customizable based on the way your admin has set up the account. You'll notice that any field that is grayed out, it means it's already going to populate some information. It's read only, and anything that has an asterisk by it, it is going to be required. Another really cool trick here is that if you see a barcode scanner inside a field, that means that we can actually click on that and populate the information in the field by using our barcode scanner rather than having to type it in manually. This is especially important if you're working with actions that may need to capture things like tracking ID numbers or really long serial numbers, so it prevents us from making those mistakes. Once you're done, of course, you can just follow the prompts and hit save. Another way, if you wanted to, is that sometimes we're searching for something using the main barcode scanner, and that something is not in Asset Panda. So if that's the case, if you scan something that is unique and it hasn't been entered into this group or it hasn't been entered into Asset Panda yet, and you result in 0, you can always go back to that bottom and add that at any time. So that's really nice to know that everything is kind of cross-referenced, so you can kind of go in either direction. You find it and work with it, or you can add it right there on the fly. Now let's talk about functionality and how you would go ahead and perform some actions and activities in Asset Panda. I'm going to again stick with my little fake object here, and we'll show a couple of different versions. One way to use actions in Asset Panda is to simply do things one at a time. That means that I'm going to select a particular object, and I'm going to go right down to that orange menu, the ... menu at the bottom. When I tap on that, it's going to take me to quick reference where I can again attach any quantity of images, recordings, or documentation as an attachment to this object. It also allows me to perform any of the actions that have been set up by company administrators. Now in this example, I'm just going to use checkout. Checkout, I'm just going to tap on it, and we can kind of get a better idea about what this looks like. Again, if it's gray, it's read only. It means that I don't need to fill anything out. If it has an arrow at the end of that page, it's probably going to be a drop-down list. The intention is for me to choose something, and if I need to, I can also scan to choose whatever that something is. So we have that multifunctionality for you. When you hit save, it means it's going to lock in those settings. Another popular option is to see a signature requirement, and that actually is changeable. So whatever this says, you're kind of saying, hey, tap here, you're signing. This does work in landscape as well, so whatever I wanted to write. Cancel if you want to do over, hit done to lock in those settings just as before. And another possible option might be a date-related field. So if you run across a calendar, you can certainly choose any of the days. You can toggle ahead, forward, or backwards in time, and you can even tap on that date and go ahead and scroll through dates. That's really popular when we're working with things like warranties, where we're doing years apart from each other. Once you are done filling out this window, however that looks based on your build, you can go ahead and hit that check mark to lock in those settings. Any change that you would expect to see in your web is also going to change here. So for example, it now says that it's checked out. We now see who it was checked out to. And the opposite works just the same. If I wanted to return to this object, return to my menu option, and now check this object in, I can see the history of that checkout process, and I can confirm that I do want to go ahead and check that in, and then fill out any pertinent information for that. It's nice to have that little extra step, especially on mobile. On those small screens, we tend to find that sometimes we click in a place that we didn't mean to, so it's nice to know you can always hit your back button, or you can decide whether or not you actually meant to click there. Now let's talk about increasing the speed and increasing the functionality of working in your Asset Panda account, because there are a couple of ways that have not changed that we can still make sure that we can do things in bulk. We already mentioned the trick here where if you'd like to filter and sort by things like the category or the status of your object, that can narrow your search field down. It's also important to know that if you want to, you can select a whole bunch of objects by using that select option at the top. Hitting select is going to go ahead and make all of these checkable, so I can now come here and select a variety of objects. And just as you probably suspected, your next step is to go to that main menu down there at the bottom right, and you can choose what happens. Now if we wanted to do a group action, for example, we can check that. We can go up to our little captain's wheel or settings for this particular action and choose that, and then we can choose what specific action we take. The process from here on out is exactly like the one that we witnessed. So we can either proceed with checking out these objects, or we can hit the back button and return to where we were. Another really fast way to check out a whole bunch of stuff all at once is if you want to use your barcode scanner rather than trying to check these things manually. Now if you'd like to do that, we're going to have to return to the main menu using those 3 lines in the upper left corner. Tap on those, And we're going to go into that Tools menu. When you expand Tools, you'll see that Group Scan is one of those options available. And when you tap on that, there's just a short little questionnaire that we need to fill out in order for the system to fully understand where you'd like it to look. So for example, if I click on Group Scan, it's going to ask me to choose which group I would like to do the scan in. I'm going to choose assets as my example. Also an option for you. Would I like to verify duplicates after each scan? Would I like to be alerted if I scan something twice? Well, if it's illuminated, then it's yes. If we make it dim, then it's no. So that's an option up to you. And my personal choice is to use my barcode scanner, the camera that's on my device, so I don't need to manually enter these objects. Once you're done filling out this little survey, you can hit that check and you are going to see your camera pop up. And this allows you to start scanning all of your items to accumulate them on a list. This is very much like using self-checkout at a grocery store. The intention here is just to get a huge list of things, and then you can decide what you'd like to do with the information on that list once you're done. Oops, I scanned the wrong barcode. Here we go. There we go. So the idea is back to back to back, I can go ahead and scan as many of those things as I like. I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple as this example. I'm going to hit cancel. Now cancel, it just means I'm canceling the barcode. It does not mean that I'm canceling the whole transaction. I just don't need that scanner anymore. And I've only done a couple as examples, just things that are here on my desk. But a real world, more likely example is lots of our construction companies. They're loading up a truck and they're scanning things as they get on the truck, or they're unpacking things. Schools are giving out things to a bunch of different people or to a classroom. They're doing this in bulk. We've got event planners who are packing up things for big events. So lots and lots of data that can be stored here. And just as with the self-checkout at the market, once you have compiled your list, you get to say, I'm done scanning. I like to choose what happens to this now. And this looks very familiar to us. We're going to apply whatever action we prefer. If you do apply actions, again, you can go to that selection settings area and you can choose specifically which action you're going to perform. So a couple of different options for you, a couple of variations that make it really easy to do things either singularly or in bulk to increase the speed and efficiency that you're using your Asset Panda account. There's a lot of bells and whistles that go along with this app, as is true of our web. So if you need assistance along the way, not only can you reach out to the person on your side who's the subject matter expert, but you can also reach us at our support team. We are available during Central Time Zone business hours, and as always through support@assetpanda.com.